Thank you very, very much. So as I just said, my name is Mark Cavell, and we have, at the age of 14, Katie McCabe. Katie, welcome to the stage here at BoatLife. You've just sailed round Britain.
Yeah, recently enough.
Now, you have got a lot of friends out there, okay, so don't be nervous. If you've just sailed round Britain, then we can have a chat at BoatLife. This is the easy bit.
No problems, no problems.
Now, we've got a video here looping of you sailing round. Now, remind me the name of your boat here.
My boat is called Falanda, and she's a Morgan Giles West Channel 1 design, built in 1950s, so locally to me in Teignmouth.
So just before we go and go back into your story of how you got to this position, how were you feeling when this video was taken? This is at the end, is it?
This is my very last trip, and I was about half a mile away from the fairway. So I'd been really looking forward to sailing and going around Britain during the trip. So when I knew that in like half an hour, an hour's time, I was going to be finished, it was like the worst feeling in the world, because you just want to keep going, and it's sad, really.
You just wanted to keep going?
Yeah, it was great.
Well, you're not the first person to feel that. Someone back in the first Golden Globe got to the end of sailing around the world, and he just wanted to keep going, and he did.
Yeah, he just carried on.
He never went to the finish. So, yes, and you've got a few fans out there to see you in.
Yeah, in the end, there were about 20-something boats came out, including 2 lifeboats, so the big offshore lifeboat and the inshore lifeboat, which is amazing because everyone just came out to greet me in, which was really cool.
Now, you didn't just learn to sail last week. Tell us when you learned to sail, because I think your answer is you can't remember learning to sail.
Not really. Well, I've lived on a boat all my life until last March. I moved into a house, and basically the deal with this is my dad's like boating mad, basically, and
Can we have a hands up from Dad out there? Where's Dad? It's all your fault. Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He moved onto a boat, his first boat at 16, and then didn't move off until last year. So that's around 37 years living on a boat, which is pretty impressive, really. My parents bought this boat, Rosalitha. She's an old Irish fishing trawler, in 2000, and they spent 5 years converting and restoring her. So they put a mast on, some sails, and then off they went. So they crossed across the Atlantic, and they were still there 2 years later when I came along. So, yeah, when I was born, I was immediately sailing, and I hit my first storm at 5 weeks old, which was apparently bad enough to have a 50-foot boat underwater, almost underwater, and apparently when my mum was changing my nappy, both her and the baby were like, they were lifted up from the floor, smashed onto the top of the deck, and then smashed back down again. Like, this is what I like, changing my nappy.
And this is you.
Yeah.
Looking like learning to walk.
Yeah, I crossed back across the Atlantic with them at 16 months old, and I learnt to walk on the way. So, yeah.
Well, not many people can say that. What a fantastic shot. So what's your earliest memory of being on a boat?
Well, I think when you grow up in a house, that's just normal. And it's the same when you're living on a boat, because it's just what happens. So in the winter, we were on a mooring. In the summer, we were in a mooring off turf in Topsham. And that meant a half-an-hour dinghy ride every morning. So you'd have half an hour in the dinghy, then you go moor the dinghy up, and then you'd row in from the dinghy to the quay, scramble across the mud, and then arrive at Topsham looking like you've just been through, like, I don't know what, and then walk into school. So, like, on a rainy day, most people would arrive in, like, slightly damp, and then they look at you and they're like, what happened to you? But yeah, that was normal, really.
I love your school run involves a dinghy. Now, before you started your amazing mission of sailing around Britain, you needed a boat.
Yeah.
Now, this is a wreck, not a boat. What's going on here?
This is Falanda, and I'd wanted a boat since I was like 7, 8 years old, and I spent all my time scrubbing boats and boat covers and those kind of stuff to try and get a bit of money so I could buy my first boat. And I was determined that I wanted a folk boat. And we'd just been across sailing to France for Pampol and then Charlestown boat festivals in 2019. And we heard of a boat in Pole Ruin, and I was like, Dad, we need to go look at this. So we arrive about 6:30 in the morning. And I've been promised this big, Morgan Giles, powerful, big boat. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be amazing. And we turn up to this. But you can't really see in the photo here, but there's water, and it was up to about there. So it was up past the berth and stuff, up past the cockpit floor. And I looked at her and I went, Dad, I'm in love. I need this boat.
So you fell in love with the bathtub?
A dirty one, yeah. So then I spent an hour and a half bailing out the mouldy bilge water, and she'd been sat in the boatyard for 10 years. So all this fresh water had been building up inside her and basically rotting her out from the inside. So I didn't really know how bad the work was going to be, and I was pleasantly surprised.
So how are your practical skills?
Well, my dad's a boat builder.
Now that's going to help. That's going to help.
It is going to help. So we towed her back to Topsham. That was 90 miles from Foy to Topsham. And it was like every 2 hours, me and Dad had to go back and bail her out because there was no bilge pump and she'd been out of the water for 10 years. So that was a bit of a trek getting her back. And then she was taken into my dad's shed, which was amazing, because I then got to spend my entire winter every day after school and on the weekends working on her, which was amazing. And yeah, there was lots to do, really.
What a job list that must have been. But, I mean, fantastic insight to be able to have faith to pick her up and turn it round. This looks like your toe back. This is where you're probably bailing out some more water.
Yeah, you can see the bucket there. I think this is just off start point. But she'd had a bit of a power wash then, so I'd already cleaned her. So, looking like a fine vessel.
Such faith. I love it. But look at this beautiful thing, all painted top sides and varnished.
Yeah. So when she was launched again, and she was launched 2 days before the first UK lockdown, so it was a bit of a rush job because I was expecting to have 2 or 3 months work on her before she was back in. And then the local boatyard said, Katie, we're going to be shut down. You've got 2 days to do all this work. So when the tractor came in to tow her out the shed, I was still painting the bilges. So it was a bit rushed. And then basically, I learnt to sail on her, and then we ended up carrying on all the way to the Scilly Isles, which is about 400 miles. This is on the way. It was amazing. It really was amazing.
Katie, she's actually here at the boat show, isn't she?
Yes. My boat is over there. Prettiest boat here. And you can go look at her. But yeah, I've just had 2 weeks working on her in Topsham, so looking great.
So yes, do go and have a look at her if she's here. So now explain what's going on here.
So, I don't know how to start really. I'd always wanted to cross Atlantic, and after sailing to the Scillies, I was like, Mum, I think I might carry on. And it was basically a no from her. So I said, okay, that's fine. I will just sail around Britain instead. So I did. And it was a bit of a pain because the insurance company said, oh, you can't go around alone because of your age. You'll have to have an adult following you. So I said, okay, that's okay. We can sort that out.
So that was the compromise. You could do it if you had an adult chaperoning you. Yeah.
So in the end, my dad had to follow me the whole way around Britain, about 3 miles behind me, it was challenging, but it was all right.
How many times did you try to shake him off?
Many times.
Did you keep up, Dad? Just about.
It was fun. It was fun. So we set off, had to go around Portland Bill. Portland Bill was fine, neat tides, not much wind, which is good because I had my first challenge of the trip, and that was going into a marina. And I'd never actually been into a marina before on my own, or only once with crew. So yeah, that was a bit of a challenge. But yeah, so in the picture before, there's a picture of us towing a boat. And we were up, we'd been going from, where were we from? I think Scarborough, we were going to North Shields, and it's quite a long hop. And halfway, this boat called us up, and he went, Falanda. This is whatever his name was. And he said, yeah, my engine's just broke. I need a tow. I'm heading for Whitby. Do you reckon you'd be able to, like, tow us in? And the tides in North Shields, I didn't have long. You know, we had to get moving, had to keep going. So my dad was like, you know what, it's fine. You keep going. I'm behind. I'll go get her. So he picked this boat up and started going. And they were going at, like, 1 knot through the water. And he was like, hey, so you're going to have to tow me as well. So there was a line of 3 of these boats just slowly going up at like 3 knots into Whitby. But it was fine. And we carried on and got into North Shields at like midnight. So it was good.
Well, that's what sailors do, help other sailors if they're in trouble.
Yeah.
This looks like a little bit of a rainy day, a little bit like today.
Yeah. We went through the Canadian Canal. And that's basically the canal going from Inverness to Oban, and it's cutting through the top of Scotland to save you going through around the top. And it was quite a big dilemma really, because I wasn't sure what to do, because I'm limited with time because I had to go back to school and weather and all that kind of stuff. So I really didn't want to go around the top, but you know, I didn't want people to think I was cheating. So
this is the official route. You're going to go around Britain. This is your route.
Well, I'm not really sure. Lots of people have different opinions, and lots of people have said, you know, you cheated, you shouldn't have the thing because you went through the canal. But Ellen MacArthur went round. She went through the canal, and she got the record. Timothy Long went round last year. He got a record.
What do we think, folks? She's got the record, yeah? Right, it's official.
Thank you. But yeah, we went through the canal. It was amazing. It was really, really pretty. But it did not stop raining. And it stopped for like about an hour in Loch Ness, so I got a chance to try my new spinnaker out. And it was great because we were going along like 6 knots with no wind. But then the wind changed, like 180 degrees, bam, straight round, started chucking it down with rain. And this was when I realised I didn't know how to use a spinnaker. Like, this is my first time using a spinnaker. So this is it all going well. Well, no, it's not really going well, that's getting it up. But yeah, so then it just changed. And then I just let everything go and then just had to, I don't really know what happened. It got in.
But the beautiful thing is you dealt with every single change of weather, conditions, circumstances. Tell us what it was like in this sort of wave state.
Well,
don't forget, your boat is, what is it, 24, 20?
My boat is 26 foot.
26 foot,
26
little folk
foot.
boat. They're very, very good in a wave. But still, waves are waves.
They're really good open water boats. They're amazing. You should get one. But the deal with this trip is we just got out of the Canadian Canal and we got to Oban and we met Murdoch McGregor, and he's just there. He's the oldest man to go around Britain, and he was going...
Where are you, Murdoch? Stand up, please. Come on. Congratulations, the oldest sailor to go around.
So Murdoch is 82, and he set on for his 23-foot boat going the opposite way around, and we basically bumped together in Oban. We met up, and he's amazing, really. But it was this day that I saw a storm coming, and we had about 51, 52 hours until it hit. And the plan was to like mull around the Scottish Islands for like 3-4 weeks because it's really pretty there. And I looked at the charts and I went, Dad, we could stay here. We might be stuck for 3 weeks. We could carry on. We could go to a couple of ports down the road and just hunker down there for the weather. And he went, we could, yeah. And I went, Dad, I reckon we can make it to Wales. So we set off the next morning and 65 miles down to Port Ellen. And then we still had 35 hours until the blow hit. And I went, Dad, we've got 172 miles. We can make it in 32 hours. So we set off, and it was all good. But on this trip, you've got the Mull of Kintyre and the Mull of Galloway. And they're really, really, really big tidal headlands. And you can only get the tide right going past one of them.
So I should explain, when the tide's against you, you can hardly make any headway.
Yeah.
So you've got to make that passage round the headland in a favourable tide. And
Yeah.
it's like the gates closing.
Yeah, and so usually you have to do the trip in 2 parts because you can't go around both. But obviously you only had 34 hours, so I was in a bit of a rush. And I was like, well, we're just going to have to go for it, you know? I'm going to choose one headland, get the tide going with us, and then we're going to have to get on with it. And Dad went, all right, because the deal was he would follow me around, but he wasn't going to do any of the navigation. That was all my idea. So that was my responsibility.
And you made it.
And we made it. So I chose Mull of Kintyre to get the tide with us, and we went round, a lovely passage round during the daylight, and then at sunset, we were reaching the Mull of Galloway, And yeah, the wind was a force 6 behind us. Tide was against us about 6 knots. And we were still going like 5 knots through the water. That's like 30 knots through the water. So it was amazing. It was amazing. And as it got dark, you know, I had to reef and that kind of stuff, and I hadn't closed the washboards. I got my waterproofs on, and then the reefing system went, and then the tack on the main went, and then the sails flogging around at 3 a.m. It was a bit of an exciting trip, but it was amazing because it's just night sailing's amazing. Night sailing in like 4-meter waves is amazing, and it's just it was amazing. It was so cool. Like I cannot describe how amazing it was. And yeah, this is sunrise the next morning when the waves calmed down a bit. So there was about 3-meter waves here. And we carried on, and then we had 60 miles left to Conway in Wales. And we made it. It was good.
So, Katie, your enthusiasm and drive is just pouring out here. And it is absolutely, it's infectious. I feel like I want to sail round tomorrow.
I hope so. It's an amazing trip. You really should.
But tell me what was for you? Let's just cover the low light, the one moment that you look back and go, I don't want to ever do that again. I know she's going to say there wasn't one.
It's hard. There was a bit of a blip going into Brighton, and we had waves breaking over the breakwater and then just sloshing down on us. And I'd never been into Brighton before, and it's a bit of a weird entrance, and they were doing some sort of dredging thing, and it was a bit awkward, but that wasn't too bad. Oh, right. So the trip after Conway was through the Menai Straits, and that's a stretch of water between Anglesey and mainland Wales. And there's a bit in the middle called the Swellies, and it's only like a quarter mile long, but you've got loads and loads of underwater rocks, and they're really, really dangerous. So you've got to get your navigation like spot on, and you've only got like an hour gateway to get through with the tide. So I was like, Dad, it's gonna be fine. We're gonna get there half an hour before high water. We'll be against the tide. We'll be going slowly. It'll be fine. My tidal calculations were slightly dodgy, and we arrived like 2 hours after. So we got spat out at like 12, 13 knots, right? And it's only like half a mile long. So it's like, just proper like
just going
surfing
over
down.
The overfalls, where you get these standing waves and almost no wind.
Yeah, and there's these rocks, and they're like, it's really close, and it was terrifying. But we got out, and then we had to pull into Port de Norwich because my dad was cold. So he made us pull in. That was really annoying, but we carried on. 4 hours later, we set off at 10 p.m. And I remember the harbour master was looking at us and going, why would you go out on a day like this? You know, we've got 48 hours until this big blow hits.
Because you said, I've got to finish this trip because I've got to go back to school.
I was like, Dad, we're going.
Because I'm only 14.
Yeah, got to go back. Want to carry on.
Well, if that was your low light, then your enthusiasm and optimism exudes. But obviously, with that question, the next one is, what was your highlight? Was it this?
No, it wasn't.
No? not the finishing.
No,
means she has to stop.
No.
Go on. What was your highlight?
The highlight. So, we had to cross the Bristol Channel, and the plan was to do it in 3 parts. We're going to go from Milford Haven to Lundy to Bideford, then Bideford to somewhere like Padstow or St Ives. But the night before I went, Dad, we've got 25, 30 knots of wind, we've got 3-meter waves, it's going to be perfect, we need to go. So I went, Dad, we're going 131 miles to Newlyn. And he went, okay, let's go. And the next morning we set off, and we had the whole day sailing. At 6 p.m, it was just about getting dark, and a pod of dolphins joined me. And it was amazing, because they then stayed with me 10 hours until 4 a.m, and as it got dark, all the phosphorescence come up, and then you've got the dolphins, and they're glowing green, and then you've got they turn into torpedoes, and they're like shooting through the water. It's like amazing. And then you've got the waves that are crashing over the boat. They're also green. And we carried on, and I called Dad up at 5 in the morning. I went, Dad, we need to carry on. I think we should carry on to the Azores. And he's like, Katie, it's 5 a.m. We're soaking wet. We're freezing. We're not carrying on. So, no, we didn't carry on in the end, but we carried on to Newlyn, and we arrived in Newlyn after going around Land's End against the tide. But it was such an amazing trip because you have the dolphins and the waves and the wind. And we were sailing we averaged 7, 8 knots through the water the whole way. Cracking sail. Cracking sail.
Now that is one hell of a highlight, seeing dolphins in the phosphorescence, having just made a really wonderful trip. But this must have been pretty amazing, coming back and look, I think there's the mayor in the picture there as well.
That is the mayor. Yeah.
Where is this?
This is coming into Topsham.
This is bittersweet for you because this is game over, back to school, isn't it?
Yeah, it's when you've been looking forward to something and you've been planning it for ages, and all your attention and energy is focused on doing this one thing, and that was sailing around Britain. So on the last trip, I was realising, this is the last time I'm going to be waking up at 4 a.m. to go out to sea. It was like hitting a brick wall, really, because it's just everything stops. So we arrived at the fairway early, like an hour early. So me and Dad had to tack out to sea, and we were tacking out towards France at about 7 knots. And I think our last conversation over VHF was me going, "Dad, we need to carry on to France." And he was like, "No, I've had enough. We're going in." And I didn't really think he was ever going to go out on a boat again, which was, it's hard putting David McCabe off boating, but I think I did for a while.
Well, you should compare notes to Robin Knox-Johnson, because apparently he had to slow up while the mayor's wife got her hairdo for the day. Talk to him about it one day. So he feels your pain, but you finally made daylight and came in with this wonderful crowd. How important was it to have so much of the town, of your fans, of your friends and family behind you? And now you have a whole nother audience behind you.
If I'm going to be completely honest, I was hoping to sneak in without anyone realising, but somehow the word got out, and there were hundreds of people on the quay and at Exmouth, and then there was the lifeboat came out. Everyone came out to group me in, and it was absolutely amazing. It was incredible. And it was all the rain as well, so everyone was there, their umbrellas and stuff. You can see a few there, but it was amazing. It was really cool.
And then came the awards and the accolades. This is Giles Scott, Olympic gold medalist from the last Olympic Games, presenting you what trophy here?
That one is the Young Journalist Award trophy. So I got nominated for Young Sailor of the Year and Young Journalist of the Year in the British Yachting Award, in the Sewing Awards, YJA Awards in Southampton, and it was really cool.
And ladies and gentlemen, we were here on the opening day when Pip Hare, who'd sailed, only the 8th woman to ever sail around the world, and Pip came over to Kate and said, it was lovely to see you because we both won awards on the same night at that event. And it was just wonderful. I've got a photograph of you two together. What was it like meeting Pip?
It was amazing. And so this award ceremony, we were both nominated for the really, really similar awards, basically the adult version and the kid version, and we both won them. But she was on a holiday at the time, so I didn't meet her then. But then we got nominated for another award in London, and this is at the Royal Thames Yacht Club, which was incredible. And Murdoch was there, and Murdoch beat Pip Hare and Alex Thompson and the entire Olympic team, for Yachtswomen of the Year,
I think Murdoch needs another round of applause here. Come on, well done.
But it was amazing, and I can't really say that.
So, Kate, we're all on your side now, and we're wishing you well for your future. Tell us what's going to happen next, hopefully, Dad. You've all been told by the way, when we asked Pip, how do you succeed and how do you get into this and how do you start and where do you find your first boat, she basically said, sell your house. So we had to tell Dad that that's his next mission. And he's only just bought it as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Kate, tell us what's going on here.
This is a mini transat, and it's a race from France to the Canaries in one hop, and the second hop is the Canaries to the Caribbean islands. And it's on a 21-foot boat.
So across the Atlantic.
Across the Atlantic. On a 21-foot boat, all alone. How perfect does that sound? So I heard about this race in 2019. And ever since, I've been my heart's been set on it, that I'm going to do it. I'm desperate to go. It's an amazing race,
It's a world-famous race, dominated mostly by the crazy French.
Yeah, it's a French race.
They design boats specifically for the race, for the conditions. The boats are amazing themselves, and you have your eyes set on the Mini Transat.
I do. I do. I was hoping to do the 2023 edition, and I got everything sorted. Had a few sponsors, got everything sorted, and I emailed the organisers a couple of times saying, I'm not too young, am I? And they were like, no, go for it. And then in October, they emailed me again, and they went, Katie, you have to be 18. And I was like, no, no. And it seemed like the end of the world, but it's not. So I'm now hoping to participate in the 2025 edition, which is a bit of a way away, but it's going to give me time to train. The first qualifying race is next year, which means I'll need to be getting a boat this year, which all sounds good, but I'm 14. I don't have like 70 grand at the minute, so...
Have you set up a crowd fund?
I have. I set one up 2 days ago. It's on my Facebook page if you want to,
That's a big hint. So, Katie, thank you so much for telling us all about your trip and your amazing life on the ocean wave. It doesn't sound like ending anytime soon. You are only 14.
Yeah, I hope not.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have a few questions from the audience? I'm sure we've got a few out there.
Even better.
There we go, sir. When's Mum going to actually let you go?
Well, that's work in progress.
So I should say, you obviously have incredibly wonderful and supportive parents who've really, set you up on all the work you've done on the...
Yeah, they're amazing.
Growing up on a boat.
They're amazing, yeah.
And actually rebuilding this beautiful boat to get you round.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, come on, another question. So what's the most useful skill? What's your take-home skill?
Go alone.
What do your school friends think of what you do at the weekends?
Well, it's weird for them because they just don't understand it. So I came back and I got all these awards and they're like, wow, we think it's absolutely amazing. You broke a record. So what did you do again? So they think it's amazing, but they just don't understand it. And it's fine, it's great. We don't have to talk about sailing all the time. And they listen to me ramble on about it. And it's great, yeah. It's weird. It's like two different worlds, isn't it? Because you've got to have the school world and there's friends, and then you've got, going off across the Atlantic alone. It's completely different. It is.
Well, your favourite meal on the water?
Well, I don't know. It's just anything, really. It's just quick and easy. But I mentioned once or twice that I had a pot noodle. On my entire trip, I had 2 pot noodles, just to make it clear. And once the news heard about this, there were 3 newspapers titled, Girl goes around Britain powered by pot noodle, and then pot noodle, no TV, girl goes around Britain at 14. So they got onto that. I also mentioned that, if you're cooking like a tin of soup or a can of beans, and you don't want to do dishes because you're 14, what you do is you get a gas hob, and you have the tin of beans or soup, whatever. And then you put it on the heat for 15 seconds, and then you take it off, give it a bit of a shake, put it on the other way around for another 15 seconds, and you do this for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then you open the tin, and it's not too hot to touch, and the beans are hot, and you just get a spoon out, or if it's soup, you can just drink it straight from the can. And then that's it. No dishes. It's perfect.
You heard it here first. Cooking tips too.
And this is from my dad. Yeah.
Any other questions? I'm sure we've got some more questions. Sir. So what are you going to do to keep your hand in?
Well, I'm going out sailing with a couple of racing with a couple of boats locally. I'm doing a classic heritage regatta in Brixham in May. And this summer, I'm hoping that the French festivals are going to be on. So like Brest and Douarnenez, which are amazing classic boat festivals, which is basically all the classic boats of Europe coming together to one place. And it's amazing. I'm hoping to get a mini, as soon as I find sponsorship. So as soon as possible, hopefully this year. And then I'll be training on that, flat out. And then,
How's your
the
French?
qualifying race. I'm working on it.
Ellen MacArthur once said the best thing she did was to learn French.
No, I am trying. My mum speaks French, so I'm slowly getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to beat those Frenchies at this single-handed sailing. Someone over here had a question. So once you've done the transit and everything else, what's next on the bucket?
Well, I'd like to go around the world one day.
Yeah, we knew she was going to say that, yeah? Well, on that note, congratulations. You're an amazing individual. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you, Kate.
Thank you.
And we wish you every luck going forward. And we look forward to see you on that line, the mini transit. Everybody,
so.
Katie McCabe. Thank you so much. Stick around. We've got Tom Cunliffe coming up on stage. Lots of good chats today. And I'm sure Kate will love to show you the beautiful boat down the road. Come and see Kate now.
Thank
you.